Hey guys, and welcome back to BeardYGO. Today we have Nicholas over here who took Cape Town by storm at the state championships that was held here in South Africa in the mother city of Cape Town. Nicholas, welcome. Congrats on your big win for States 2022. And yeah, it's good to have you on the channel.
Thanks for
It's
having me.
I've basically interviewed all of the top guys for Gauteng basically with regards to different profiles and everything, and it was very different to see how the meta game actually is compared to Gauteng. You guys were very DESPIA orientated, very control orientated, and on our end we're just going wombo combo.
Yeah, so I think the meta's kind of changed in the last few weeks, but there was a lot of hype with Alubas being available, and a lot of people were on Despia. I think if you didn't see Super Poly over the course of a match, like from you or your opponent, it was a rarity. So
Mm.
like that's kind of what the whole day was like.
That's definitely very interesting. So you decided to take Despia, branded Despia, and let's get into your deck profile, and then we'll chat a bit about your choices, and then also a couple of other questions that I've got for you. So heading
That's
into the deck profile, we've got triple copies of Aluba, Jester of Despia, as well as triple Tragedy, the one Dramaturge, the one ad libitum for the main deck. So these I've found is the standard ratios for basically every person running the deck. So three
yeah.
three one one. Is there a reason behind this? Like, for example, why isn't there like a different variation
Okay.
of cards that you'd be using?
So the list itself, I came to very late. The deck that I actually used wasn't even mine. Um, the ratios are interesting. So I ran slightly different ratios as far as the main ones go. Um, I didn't even want to run Dramaturge, but it came up being very helpful in OTK situations. So
Okay.
that's why the Dramaturge was there. If not, I would consider running a second ad libitum. I
Yeah.
think you have to run three Aluba
No,
because
definitely that
if
consistency.
you're not fusing, I think you're losing. uh, and then yeah, I mean searching is good. So you play three of each of the searches and OTK power in the other two. So that was the theory behind it. It
Yeah.
works pretty well, and Dramaturge is pretty cracked in the mirror match.
Mm.
So if you set up like going first boards and with the Dramaturge, you can stop them at key points in their combo where it's like if you are not doing that in the standard lines,
Yeah.
it's kind of more they can crack your boards more easily, and
Okay.
then you have to play control from there.
Yeah. All right. Cool. So we moving on to the Albaz stuff. So we've got triple Fallen of Albaz, as well as one Spriggan's Kit and one Tri Brigade Mercuria, and then the two Albion. So what I've
Yeah,
seen is a lot of the people would either run two, maybe even three Mercuria maxing out if they playing the Allure engine like you are, but they're also usually only running the one Albion as well. So what's your choices for the one Mercuria and the two Albion?
okay, so consistency is key. And Albion was pretty good at just setting up the trap. I never wanted to draw the trap.
Mm,
I would rather just do the setup. Um, Also, there's really nice combos with the spell later on that you'll see. I'm playing the Gold Sock, which is predominantly what I want to do. Um, Gold Sock, send Merc. Um, then you get the Albion, send a trap, and then you can cycle such. It's a
mm,
pretty clear +2, um, and that's it's +1, but that's what I wanted to do. Like that was the theory behind it. So I'd rather be seeing Albions just to send the trap. That was the biggest thing for me.
Okay.
Then the three of the boy. Normal summon is very good. Like he's actually very good to see in your hand. We're playing not like other ways to fuse from him if you see him, like not just normal summoning. You're playing fusion spells, so that's also very good. And one Mercuria, I found that it's a great card, and it's great to have it with Allure, but I'd rather be banishing it than holding onto it generally, because I feel like the boards that you can end with a branded in red crackback is very good.
Yeah.
And you don't really need to hold it as a hand trap as much, because
Yeah.
it's also kind of telegraphed.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Okay. And then I see you also running 2 copies of Edge Imp Chain instead of the usual 3 copies.
It's bricky, right? So
Yeah.
if we're gonna go through that, I really didn't want to brick, and thankfully, I think over the course of the whole tournament, which was about 9 rounds, I bricked once.
That's actually really decent. Wow.
Yeah, so I can't complain. The ratios really played out nicely.
Yeah.
So yeah, I didn't want to see too many of that poly engine. So I drew it when I needed to. It was great. That's kind of the theory behind it.
All right, and then the last monster we've got here is 1 copy of Fairy Tale Snow. So a lot of the guys, they're running Snow. Snow is insane.
It
But
should be bad.
it should be banned, you say?
Yeah.
All right, so Snow obviously put in a lot of work for you.
So Snow is the light target if you're summoning the fusion like that.
Yeah.
Interruption, like link decks just lose to it. You just book their normal summon. What are they going to do? You book a fusion and a key opportunity. It baits negates and stuff. It's just a really good card. Not to mention the fact that it stopped me from getting OTK'd a couple times as well. Just blocking essentially 2 monsters is very good, and you can do it in the battle phase.
Yeah, it's a really insane card. And one thing that I also see you not running is like a Light Hex or a Dark Magician to try and fit in a Dragoon package here with the whole branded fusion.
Yeah, so the extra deck was tight. The extra deck was really tight. And Light Hex is also a brick. We don't want a brick. That's kind of what it is. I like the fact that, yes, the deck can control, but it's got the power to push like very quickly. So I would rather have the ability to go for game than to sit for another couple turns.
Yeah. But I see a lot of the top builds have, specifically for the Despian variant, they've moved away from Dragoon, and that the Despia stuff is, way too powerful on its own already, that they don't have to worry about getting an Omni Negate like that on board.
I mean, you've got a non-targeting banish in the engine. You can put them on a clock with, I call it the tax dragon. I hear a lot of guys calling it Masquerade tax dragon, because you put them on a clock, and I don't want to move too far ahead, but I've got some interesting choices in the extra deck, which kind of focus towards pushing for damage. So that's kind of why I didn't go into that package. I just felt that being more aggressive with the deck and being able to hold for maybe 2 to 4 turns at the most, and then just push was probably the best for me.
Okay, great. So moving on to spell cards, we have got obviously the best fusion spell, Branded Fusion, and along with that, probably one of the best starter spells, and also that protects your stuff, is the 3 Branded Opening. And then I see you also maxing out on 3 Branded in red. So tell me about that.
Yeah. So opening engine, that's kind of what you want. You either want to see this or a Uber, and obviously that links to Branded Fusion. So you always want a fusion on turn 1. I mean, if it's game one, you're probably not going to see dim barriers. So you always kind of want to fuse from deck on turn one. It's free, you know. If you set up your graveyard, it gets you pluses. You get your monster set up. It's just really consistently good, you know. And I mean, it's not like a subpar setup either. So that was why you want to see fusion naturally. And then branded in red at 3, you might say it's a bit much, but it performed very well. I
Mm.
was using my turn and my opponent's turn. Sometimes they do dim barrier in response to your fusion, dimensional barrier in response to branded fusion, and then you just chain branded red. So you
Yeah.
still get something out of the turn. The effect is negated naturally, but you still have some presence where it could have just skipped your turn entirely.
Mm.
So yeah, that's what I was up to there.
All right. And then we've got the one branded lost, which is your meltdown. Definitely puts in a lot of work, allows you to escape a lot of situations.
Yeah.
And that search as well is just a plus. Like it's like a reverse meltdown, you know. Instead of on activation getting a search, but it's more of when you fusion that you get the search as a bonus.
Yeah, and if it stays there, you know, you're playing quick play fusion spells. So your turn, your opponent's turn, your turn again. If they
Yeah,
don't have their own up while you're doing that, it's kind of like you just out advantage them very
yeah.
quickly.
The resource gain from this card gets pretty insane. It's like a snowball effect.
Definitely.
Then moving on to accompany the Edge Imp chain, we've got the triple patchwork as well as the double polymerization as well. And I see a lot of the guys are also skipping out on that third poly and rather running the 2 ratio.
Yeah. You break hard on poly. Um, it's kind of like you need your hands to be pretty much mixed as far as the color of the cards that you see. So you don't want it to be too many polymerizations. If the game's gone to the point where you have the third patchwork in hand, there's a lot of cards that ditch for cost. It's not the worst thing in the world. Um, yeah, after 2, I should be in a position where I'm going to win,
Yeah,
and that's what happens most of the time.
awesome. And then we've obviously got the blowout 3 copies of Super Poly over here.
Yeah, this card is also dumb, especially in a tournament where it felt like half of the field was on Despia.
Mm,
Like I'll go into my matchups later, but the amount of mirror matches I played was kind of sickening almost. It
yeah.
was just constant.
It's very interesting. I mean, like I said in the beginning, where the format's completely different between the two championships, which was very interesting as well. I mean, we did see quite a lot of Despia as well there by us. I think the most ratios were Despia and then Eldritch and then uh, I think that those are like the top ratios basically in terms of percentage wise in attendance. And then Sword Souls just
Yeah,
start running through that, you know.
they did their
So
thing.
yeah, it was very interesting to see the outcome of both tournaments, especially like the difference in top four cut as well. It's a very interesting format. I mean, basically, it's not just like 3 decks or 2 decks that are like doing really well. Like a lot of these smaller little rogue decks can sneak in top slots and everything, which is quite nice. I enjoy this type of format where it's quite diverse and you know it's basically like anything goes. Like yes, you'll have your better decks that are also represented more, but I mean if you have one guy, let's say I think it was the only zombie guy, and he made it all the way to topping. You know, like
Yeah,
that's got to take a lot because there's no vast amounts of players playing the same thing to increase the deck's chances of getting a top
Sure.
spot, you know. But anyway,
Yeah, good
move
deck building, running well, like that'll get you there.
yeah, 100%. So moving on, we've got the draw power of the deck. We got triple Allure of Darkness. So you opted to run Allure in this. You can banish the Mercuria, you can banish the Tragedy, and that will just generate you more pluses. So Allure combined with those essentially equals your branded fusion engine, or even gets you into like branded opening or branded in red. But did you ever consider maybe running something different in terms of a draw power?
Um, there were only two differences. Now it's not only in draw power, but the two differences that I thought of were foolish, and I was a goober and I didn't add called by. So
Mm,
I don't know why I didn't add called by. I was tired, but
okay.
there's also draw power in the dragon. So from
Yeah, the
hand,
Albion.
yeah, I'll be on shuffle back, draw one. I mean, it's like it's kind of a mulligan, but
Yeah.
you're getting a foolish from that as
Mm,
well. So it kind of has its own intrinsic, like you don't really brick with Albion.
yeah. All right. And then I see you decided to main some outs here with the triple droplet as well.
Yes, Droplet also overperformed. You know that they set up the board. You can't do much against it, and then you top the droplets, and then the board just goes away. So
Yeah.
pretty good.
No, it's really interesting because I see a lot of the Despia deck lists and stuff, even abroad, like they don't run anything really to like out stuff. Like there's like no hand traps, there's no
Yeah,
droplets, there's no dark rulers and stuff in main or anything like that. It's just pure consistency breaking boards.
all gas.
And it's exactly all
Yeah,
gas and the droplet. It's actually refreshing to see this in the deck list, to see that you were thinking a little bit about, but what if there is that six negate board, you know?
yeah. So I felt really naked if I wouldn't have had that with me. Like you're not playing Ash. That's kind of this deck's biggest weakness.
Yeah.
So if I had known that it was a full mirror match tournament, I would have just added three Ash on top, you
Mm.
know, and like imperms and stuff that I would have wanted, knowing that there are sword souls running around and things like that. So
Yeah.
just able to have this nope card there. I mean,
Mm.
even nibs are really good hand trap this format.
Yeah.
So I felt like I needed at least one of the three, and I thought that droplets was the most flexible.
Okay. And then we've got the one gold sock, which is obviously just another starter with the Mercury and the tragedy as well.
Yeah.
Like just top decking gold sock is just basically full combo.
It's a crazy card. I picked it over Foolish, and I didn't regret it. Whenever I saw it, my hands just went from playable to how is this legal?
Yeah.
Like that's what it felt like. So yeah, the card also overperformed.
It's definitely interesting. And then you got the one branded sword, which is being sent by the Albion, and that will obviously get you Albaz or the Mercuria back.
Yeah, so it kind of like actually contained like a little bit of a self-contained combo. So the Gold Sock, Mercuria, Albion, Sword, Mercuria. It's like
Mm.
that's kind of the line. Yeah.
All right, and then moving on to the extra deck, we've got triple copies of Albion the Branded Dragon. So you decided to run triple of this, and then obviously the two Mirror Jade, which is standard, but then you've got the one Lebellion. Now
Yeah.
you're running the one Snow. Um, you're running the one Snow, and that's your only light target for the Albion. So why max out on it?
So Snow summons itself back, and we play normal polys.
Mm,
So that was the one way to do it. Um, if I time it right, It's just a big push for damage, branded in red, fusing the stuff away. Albion was a really powerful push card, and I liked the fact that when I summoned it, I could fuse again on my turn and my opponent's turn. I wanted to max out on this card. I thought it was really good, and it performed really well. So
Yeah.
I don't regret it. Also, if your Lubellion gets negated, that's a light on board still. Some of the other Despia cards, like, it's almost worth fusing them away, and then they're in the graveyard as material for Albion to banish to make Mirror Jade.
Yeah.
So like that was the lines I was thinking of. You're also sending it, right? So you're making the Mirror Jade and you're sending Albion most of the time. Sometimes you'll get a bit creative, and you can send. I have another target in the extra deck that I like to send, but I just didn't want to run out of them. And oftentimes you need the searches that it gives you. So yeah, I just wanted to run as many as possible. And if you had the negate for my Lubellion, then you had it. I will just set up a brand new red play and try and make the Mirror Jade like that next turn.
Okay. Very interesting, because I see a lot of the guys are running the 2-2-2 ratios.
Yeah.
All right.
I just felt like in testing, you ran out of them too quickly.
Yeah.
So I wanted to be able to do a banish on my turn or a banish on my opponent's turn, make the other one hard, and then I could always have one more banish. That was the theory.
And then next up, we've got the one Titaniclad as well as the one Brigrand. So Brigrand's obviously just to get you into the kit, or Fallen of Albaz, and Titaniclad is it's Titaniclad. But also on top of that, I see that there's speaking of Titaniclad, and usually people are running this in Dogmatica. And Dogmatica is running Ecclesia, and that brings me to, why aren't you running Ecclesia in this? Not the Dogmatica, the Virtuous.
Yeah, so I tested it. I didn't like it. It's nice that it adds itself back. It's nice that it's not a normal summon, but I tested it and it just wasn't my cup of tea.
Yeah.
So I'll say it like that. Running it pure just felt better. It felt a little bit cleaner, like the ratios. The deck's already swollen. Okay, I'll put it like that. The deck's already big. So now I'm going to put more cards in. I can't cut down to 40 as much as I would like to. And you would think like cutting draw spells will help you get to 40 and that will improve consistency. But then you're just not seeing as many cards in general.
Yeah.
So putting in more cards that just did the same thing didn't feel that good.
Okay. Right, then the Despia stuff. So we've got the big guy and the small guy, one each, standard ratios. Have you brought out the Proskenion?
No, I was just gonna say it. No, it didn't come up.
Would you remove it, or is it just there for in case?
It's gonna stay there for in case.
Yeah. Cool. And then we've got the quartet. What's it? Quiritus. It's such a, like, I don't know how Konami spells. Like you got someone up there that's just scribbling, like maybe they got a few doctors writing names. But yeah, so this card obviously puts in a lot of work zeroing the monsters, and then also it floats as well. So
yeah,
really good card.
It's underrated in the mirror match.
If you had a 16th slot, would you push this to 2? Let's say Konami gave you a 16th slot. What would you do with it?
I think I would probably run the second Lubellion over it.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that's probably the line I would take there, because that was the 16th card in my extra deck.
Yeah.
The last card to get cut out. So Quartus is good, or however you pronounce it. It's a good card. It's underrated in the mirror match because the floating effect is so good. Obviously, the attack modification isn't relevant. But yeah, I'd say the second rebellion's probably a higher priority for me.
Mm. All right, cool. You just want to be pushing out those fusions.
Yeah, definitely.
All right, and then we've got the tax dragon, as you call it, double masquerade. So you were pushing to basically always go for the double masquerade just to, put your opponent on that clock.
Not necessarily. So it came up a couple times over the course of the day,
Mm.
but most of the time I just make one and then have merge it. So it's
Yeah.
like it's the perfect combination of what the deck's capable to do if you have a hand that can make both, and then you have the set branded in red to threaten the Chimera. It's
Mm.
like, what are they going to do?
Yeah.
There are ways to outplay it, right? But the likelihood of that happening is quite min, and I've got the crack back to like end it next turn,
Mm.
and you have to burn yourself quite a lot to be able to break a board like that.
Yeah.
So yeah, I would mostly go for the setup of one masquerade, but going for two, I recommend it to everyone. You should try it if you have.
It's definitely fun watching your opponent try and figure out how they're going to basically get through your board and still have enough life
Yeah,
points. Because that's either
and
you have to go for an OTK or that's it.
yeah, it kind of makes me feel like a bad person.
All right, so we've got the double Guardian Chimera, and I hear this guy puts in a lot of work. Like you just plus like so insane.
This is the guy. Yeah, for sure. Most of the time, drawing two, popping one. Uh,
Mm.
just how I crafted my fields most of the time. Didn't leave too much material on field, but I mean, he replaces himself fully as far as economy goes.
Yeah.
Uh, because I mean, you're getting one of the materials for free from branded in red,
Mm.
and most of the time that replaces itself as well. So the branded, like if you're going for any of the Despia cards, they either float, summon something else, or search for you.
Yeah.
So this guy synergizes so well with that package, and interruptions are good.
Mm.
And we always have Poly engraved, so he's kind of hard to deal with.
Yeah.
So it's just a really good card, really good card. And the second copy did come up.
All right. Cool. Cool. And then the last one, the main super poly target, the Dracostopelia, and this is just to do that level manipulation along with shutting down your opponent's effects. Because I mean, it's just an automatic negate. It's like a little mini skill drain that keeps skill
Yeah,
draining new
that
stuff
keeps
every turn.
improving. Um, I like the card a lot. I saw some people who made going first boards with it. Um, I think it's better to, as you say, use it with Super Poly. But you make this, say, on turn 3, on turn 2, depending on who goes first.
Mm.
And it just clutches games as well.
Yeah.
Uh, Negating is good.
Awesome. Moving on to your side deck, because I see your side deck is very, very interesting compared to Tariq's side deck as well. So you've got 3 copies of Token Collector, and this is mainly just for
Yeah.
adventure and Sword Soul.
I had some fears coming into the tournament that I was going to get sword solded, call it that.
Yeah, because
And
the Despia deck has a very hard matchup against Sword Soul.
yeah,
Um,
so I actually tested quite a lot. My brother, he has sword soul, and the testing went well against them. Either either I just combo on them and they can't deal with it, or Token Collector puts in work.
mm,
I wouldn't feel comfortable going into a tournament in this format without it. I'd say that.
okay. And then we've got the one Despian comedy that you're also running in the side.
So that's for skill drain matchups because you can dodge effects by tributing them when they activate on field. You can tribute the card, so it kind of can activate under skill drain, so to
Mm,
speak. That was the theory behind that. It came up in my top 8 match. I played against a guy on Eldritch, and he had the floodgate up, and I just was able to dodge around it. Ended up winning from that. So I also,
Awesome.
yeah, I also really think the card's good.
Right, and then you are also running the Necroworld Banshee, and I see three zombie worlds.
Yeah,
So
yeah, yeah.
this
So
this
there's a
is an
lot of
interesting one.
there's some theory spice behind this. Now, I wasn't the person to come up with this idea, but I saw some lists running it, and I was like, why would you do that? Um, but this is for Flunder, right?
Yeah.
So, and it came up. If you open the fusion spell, which is kind of what you want to do, you send the zombie, you set the field spell. Great. They twin twist you. So they hit your branded in red. You have to play it early. They hit your field spell. You're
Yeah.
completely out of position on the play.
Wacky Spice on Zombie World. Let me know.
Yeah. All right. So the standard play would be you activate fusion, you send the zombie, then you activate zombie world, and then you get twin twisted.
Yeah.
Most of the time they hit your branded in red, they hit your field spell. You're playing super out of position now, and it's Flunder, so they do their thing.
Yeah.
Um, I kind of didn't want to lose to a single Twin Twister or a single Harpies Feather Duster. So you play three because you open one and the
Mm.
fusion. You activate the zombie world. You have your Banshee Engrave and you leave it there.
Yeah.
When they clear the field spell, you have a second one. And if they don't, you're already winning.
Yeah.
So that was the theory because I can sit for a couple turns and the best that I think that they can do under that is set up statue, and I'm not really afraid of that because I can normal summon over it.
Yeah.
And from that point, I'm already kind of in the driver's seat.
Yeah. No, it's a really really good card against Flunder. Like this analogy, I actually was thinking about doing this in virtual worlds because a lot of the virtual world guys they'll run the Beatrice and the Banshee zombie world package, but it'll be a 1-1 ratio. And I was like,
Yeah,
but what if you up the zombie worlds and then you just draw into it because drawing anyway off of like Charge Warrior or whatever, and then
yeah.
you've got that banshee for the backup. Like no one's doing that, and it's very interesting to see that the same thought also crossed your mind for the side deck in this tournament.
I mean, we're already playing super Saki cards. Like we're already playing super poly. We're
Yeah,
already playing dimensional barrier and the like. So why not just play more instant win cards?
exactly. Why not? It's all about what you can do to put your opponent under enough pressure to either concede or to just generate you as much advantage as possible. I mean, Zombie World does nothing to your deck, so why not run it?
For sure. For sure.
Then I see you also running triple twin twisters. And what's this specifically for? Mystic Mine?
Well, thankfully there was none of that going on. um, yeah, for mine, uh, I was also looking at people who were going to potentially play the Predator Plant build. So I
Yeah,
was I was focusing on that, like hitting the back row and the scales there is also quite important. Eldritch, that was the big thing. Obviously, Eldritch is the walking terror that it is. If you let that thing get ahead, you're
yeah,
kind of problematic. Not necessarily because of the engine, but just because of floodgates. So call
yeah,
it floodgates in general.
yeah. Because I think if you have a look at um, a second place winner from the Gauteng states, um, he was running Outlich branded, and I think his traps besides just the Outlich stuff was uh, triples of skill drain, Tikaboo, Gozen, and rivalry.
Yeah,
All in the main. Like it was just a half a deck of floodgates.
that's gross, bro. I don't want to play against that. I'll discard a card, get rid of it. I don't want to see it.
Yeah. Right. And then we see three copies of Dimensional Barrier. And I hear this is the card that got you your first place win.
So I don't know if that's 100% fair, but yeah, it definitely helped. It definitely helped. um, I think that and Tax Dragon kind of carried me.
Mm.
But if you're going first and you see this card, you either stop your opponent if they're obviously if you're playing the mirror,
Yeah,
you either stop their turn or you stop the crackback, and that's kind of all that she wrote, you know.
yeah. And I mean, it's also good against Sword Soul as well. So
Yeah,
that's also very very useful against Sword Soul.
I kind of wanted it to be like I have six-ish cards to side against like every deck,
Yeah,
and the ratios were pretty much like that. So the dimensional barriers and the token collectors, Sword Soul, dimensional barrier, and potentially Twin Twister is what I want to see
mm.
in in this matchup. I also put in red reboot against a lot of things because
Yeah,
I expected them to have the dimensional barrier for me.
yeah. I see the red reboot here as well. And this is also just one of those blowout cards. You know, if you red
Yeah,
reboot someone, especially if they're running massive back row, like it's over. Especially since you are also focusing on pushing out those fusions and just doing that damage.
yeah. Won me a bunch of games. Never care about playing life points. It's not relevant. I've already won if I'm resolving it. You
Yeah,
know, it's like the turn's starting, but if I have it in my hand and you go back row, I win.
yeah.
Type.
Great. So tell me, what would you say is the best deck right now?
Hmm. I think it has to be something with Therions. I think Punk Therion is super scary. Depends where you are, right? I've been watching a little bit of the Europe scene,
Mm-hmm.
and like Germany had a lot of Punk Therions, if I'm not mistaken. What one recently? There was a recent UK YCS. Um,
Wasn't it the plants, the Sun Avalons?
I'm not sure if they won, but they're also up there. You know,
Yeah.
I would say Therion's for me is the best engine right now.
Mm.
And there's so many ways you can go with it. Plant Therion is insane. ABC Therion, crazy. Punk Therion, it's got a really high ceiling, and
Yeah.
you can essentially Azathoth them with the synchro Azathoth, the
Yeah. Yeah.
hot
The
red.
King Calamity.
There you go.
Yeah.
So that for me is probably the most consistent deck that can do ignorant things.
Mm.
So yeah, I would say Punk Therion right now.
All right. That's very interesting. So far, every single person I've spoken to on the channel featuring their tops and everything, they said, well, it's between Despia and Sword Soul right now. And yeah, you popping up with let's get straight into the new stuff. So it's very cool. I like
Man, I see
the
the
fact that you're checking out all of these things. You're not just focused on specifically, what our format is most likely
yeah.
looking like. Right.
So
So
the night before the event,
yeah.
I had I had plant Therions, or I had plant adventures built,
Mm,
and the whole week before I was saying if I get Therions, I'm playing it. I was hunting everywhere.
yeah.
No one wanted to lend me cards. They were all stingy. I just couldn't find anyone with the cards. I
Yeah.
actually had a lot of cards lent to me for the event. But yeah, I just couldn't find them. So I was gonna run that, and I'm
Mm,
glad I didn't. I'm glad I didn't because the Despias ran super well. But I had my eyes on it since before national state champs.
yeah. Right. So tell me, what made you choose this deck besides you not finding the Therions? You know, what made you choose Despias over Sword Soul? Because you said that your brother had Sword Soul, and I believe he wasn't taking part in the event.
Yeah, no. So I had the choice. Um, no disrespect to Sword Souls. because I think that it's a really strong deck. I didn't have that much experience on the deck, although I do know how it plays and I know how to play most of the hands. Um, I felt that Despia had a higher ceiling. No, that's not even correct. I think that the control from Despia is just better than the pressure from Sword Soul. That's just my take on the meta.
Mm.
Um, I like both. I felt that when I tested with both of them, that I ran better with Despia, and that there was more outplay potential with the Despias. Knowing that there was going to be a lot of Despia players, I thought that there was more outplay potential if I was on the deck as well.
Yeah.
That's my thinking.
Okay. So let's get into your round. So round one, let's start. What did you face?
Okay, so out of 6 rounds, I faced 3 mirrors
Okay.
throughout the day. My first round was against MathMech.
All right.
I two the guy. He was playing some Cyberse variant. He did like a half a combo,
Mm.
and then he just got kind of OTK'd the next turn. Um, it's a little bit of a difficult deck to compete against the meta with. So OTK'd him, and then game two he nibbed me, and then did nothing after. So I just killed him with the token, which felt pretty good.
Ouch. Yeah.
Uh,
That always feels
game
good.
game two was mirror match. I played against very serious guy on Despia as well. Cool guy, just like quite a serious match, not a lot of laughing and joking.
Yeah.
Went to a draw. It was 1-1. I think he took game one, I took game two, and then he just finished his first turn, and then time was called. So it was a little bit of annoying to be unresolved, but that was my game two. Game three, I played against another mirror match. It was against the dude who was on 60 cards,
Mm.
playing like Shadows, playing or like a small Shadow engine, like a small Ecclesia. What is that?
Dogmatica engine.
Dogmatica. Thank you. He was playing Dogmatica engine, and he was maining like the spice. He was maining dim barriers. He had
Wow.
everything. But I managed to 2-0 him.
Like a Shadol kitchen sink deck.
Yeah. I like to fuse kind of deck. Um, so that was my game three. My game four, I played against Sids. So Shadol invoked Dogmatica.
Mm.
Um, it was more like an invoked deck. He actually didn't see a lot of Shadol cards, but
Okay.
like invoked Dogmatica, I would say. Also a 2-0. Their boss monster is crazy. That big Elysium thing, it's kind of cooked.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
then my game five was another mirror match. I drew, also 1-1. He
Okay.
made it to top eight as well. The guy was he was on more of like a structured deck like list because he was playing cards that you don't really run, like some of the other traps, like the negation stuff.
Yeah.
Uh,
Like warning
which is
point,
kind
for
of
example.
yeah, it's why I actually lost a game against him because I was like, okay, cool. You're not running real back row, you're running like fusion spells and stuff. And then he just hard negated my fusion. I was like,
Yeah.
okay, well played, bro. You had it.
Yeah.
So that was the game two. And then time gets called. And then my final round, which the pressure was on for this because I knew there was a bunch of people that if I lost this one could have been a bit dicey, was D-Link.
Okay.
And I went 2-1 against the guy. He almost OTK'd me game one, but he misplayed around my snow. So I managed to
Mm.
chump block 2 attacks and I survived from there. And then it was just like fighting back and he couldn't out what I was doing. And I won game one. Game two, he quiche me because I went first and he just dragon OTK'd. And then game three, I won.
Yeah.
And then we moved to top eight.
All right. So what was your place after Swiss?
I believe I was third.
Okay, nice. So it was 2 draws and 4 wins.
Yeah.
Very nice.
So
Still technically undefeated.
yeah.
Right, so moving on to top eight. Let's see what were your matchups.
So I will say this: the top eight experience was super stressful
Mm.
because I kind of knew all the guys and I knew that they were all really good players. Um, I think there was two guys that I actually didn't know, but the rest of the people, like their fixtures there, you always see them at the top
Yeah,
tables. And this was my first top since like 2017, so there was quite a lot of pressure.
yeah,
Um, they have like the end of round proceedings in top eight matches. I'm
yes,
not sure if you're aware of this, but it's like
yeah,
the if time is called, basically another duel happens with four turns,
exactly.
and every single one of the games went into time.
Wow.
I swear I'm not a slow player, but like time was definitely a factor there. So I played against Outlich, and this was my first brick of the day. I start my top eight match and just complete brick, no starters, no nothing, and he just sets five and passes,
Mm,
and he creams me. Game two, I won, and then game three comes down to the wire, back to time, and then yeah, ended up winning that one by running out the four turns. So
yeah,
that's it. It was just like a really long, grindy game with Outlich. Glad that one ended because I could not take it.
yeah,
Then top four was against Flanders. Game one, he wins. Game two, I do the zombie world side in, so I ended up winning off that, actually having the two zombie worlds in play essentially.
yeah,
Uh, and then the I actually should have gotten kicked out in top four. So game three starts. He manages to set up the advent
yeah.
so he can 500 life. Time is about to be called. He sets advent, and then time gets called. So if he was more cognizant,
Mm,
I could have gotten knocked out there, but I'm still in, and then I end up also zombie wall locking him, and then just winning from there. So that was the top four match.
yeah,
And now after that, I'm kind of vindicated because I'm going to get a switch, so like all the pressure's off, and I could kind of play more freely.
mm,
And that's when I played against Tarek, the other gentleman that you interviewed, and it was a really good game, like backwards and forwards. A lot of dimensional barriers flipped. A lot of super polys flipped. I ended up going first game one. I set up Masquerade, um, Dramaturge, and Merjade.
yeah.
He couldn't break it. Game two, he literally sets up the same board against me. Like he figured out that I was doing the thing. No, he set up the same board against me. I couldn't break it, and then game three um, was a tight game. Time gets called while we're still on even life. So no one had done any damage yet. We go to game four essentially, and then this is the thing. I opened the D barrier.
Yeah.
Um, I won from there. It was kind of
He
like
said he had the D barrier and combo in hand. You had the D barrier and combo in
yeah,
hand, and
I was just
you won the dice roll. So it was like, damn. But you
yeah.
know,
It
it
was
is what it is, and that's the game, and that's the beauty of the game. Like, you know, anything can happen. It can go get all the way down to the wire where it's a dice roll that's going to like either determine whether you're going to have a chance at locking your opponent out or be locked out, you know.
yeah.
And it's very interesting. But I want to hear from you. Firstly, congratulations again
Thank you.
for taking the state championships in Cape Town. And I want to hear from you. What would you say is or was the best card in the tournament for you?
Hmm.
What was the best? What was
So,
the worst?
ooh, okay. So I'll start with the worst because it was the reason why top 8 was so hard. So I really like Albion, but
Mm.
it was for sure a one-off. I should have run one. Two was too much.
Yeah.
The theory is great. In practice, it does not feel good seeing two.
Mm.
Um, so that was probably the card I would cut. And Dramaturge was actually, in hindsight, really good. I didn't want to
Mm.
run it at the start of the tournament, but at the end of the tournament, it performed so well in my finals match. I would feel like I betrayed it if I cut it. So I'm glad I didn't. And then for sure, the best card has to be Super Party. I
Yeah.
mean, Super Party is just so cracked, especially when a lot of people are on fusions.
Mm.
Uh, there's certain setups where you can literally just make Mirror Jade hard with a Super Party. You know,
Yeah.
when they have their own Albions, not Albion, their own guy set up, the Albaz. You know,
Yeah.
so for sure, Super Poly, and a close second was Dim Barrier because it felt good.
Yeah.
Dimension Barrier.
100%. So I would like to know, with regards to the upcoming format and everything, and see you have been eyeing the Therions to be playing the plant variant. Besides that, is there anything else you are looking forward to building?
um,
Or is it a secret?
I mean,
You know, people know
I
you
don't think
now. You
I don't
went and crushed everyone. Now they're gonna be wary of what you're playing.
I don't think Punk Therions is a secret, man. I said it already. That takes crazy. You can do some stupid stuff. So I think that's really good. I think if you're gonna run Despia in future, the Predator plants are a really good thing to look at. Um, hell, we've seen Striker top of YCS. That's really good.
Mm,
Uh, although I don't really consider Mystic Mind play fun.
yeah,
Um, but coming from a former Prank Kids player, I should not talk.
yeah.
So, um, yeah, I'd for sure say Punk Therions is the future.
All right, cool. And what about upcoming stuff like Splight or Tier Elements?
Oh, we're talking about the future.
Yeah, that's like soon, man.
Yeah,
Like
Splite is
Punk Therions is here. We're waiting for the next thing.
Splite is kind of gross.
Yeah.
What you're able to do is super gross. There's a what is that the burn mill deck, the only spells that banish. What is
No,
that deck
that
called?
that that's Mr. Runes.
That stuff's stupid.
Yeah.
That's stupid.
Yeah, the Tier
But
Elements is basically the fusion deck that's like every card is a grass looks greener basically.
oh, okay. Well, perhaps I am a little bit behind now. I got hooked on Therians. But for sure, I know the deck that you mentioned previously, the one that mills and burns, the
Mm,
spell card only deck. It's
yeah.
something I would look into. I think Splite is going to be a terror with the frog stuff mixed into it.
Yeah.
Uh, but yeah, I think we might see some Therion play for a little while
Yeah.
if I'm thinking about it.
No, 100%. So we know that with the state championships this year, the winners did not get the free trip to continental championships. Yeah, cry.
Very very sad.
So if you had the cash, or maybe you do have the cash, I don't know. Don't tell anyone that you're rich or not. But
Super
would
broke, bro.
would
Bro,
you
please
would you want to go?
I would love to. I would love to. First of all, like representing South Africa is obviously a very cool thing to do. Um, I've had friends in the past. You might know him. His name's Lungi. He was a guy that played at my
Yeah.
locals.
And now
He
he's
ended up
now he's in
taking
the
two.
OCG.
Yeah, he ended up taking two national spots, and I was always super jealous that he was able to top spots at nationals. I was always super jealous of him specifically that he could go overseas and like go and play the game there in
Yeah.
a bigger scene, you know. Um, So I was always like, damn, one day I would for sure do it if I ever won. And now I have one, but I'm not given the opportunity. So I'm a bit salty there.
Yeah.
But yo, I'd love to. I'd love to. I believe that we've got Oceania. We're included there, if I'm
Yes.
not mistaken. But yeah, I'd love to go there. I'd love to go to Europe. We'll see how if my wallet agrees.
Mm.
But for sure, I'd love to. I'd love to. Please sponsor me.
Yeah. You guys, you heard it here first. Please sponsor him. And don't forget to like and subscribe. So, one more thing I want to hear from you with regards to state championships now having basically divided the country, as I
Yeah,
call it. Would you have preferred it to be one big event, or are you cool with the two events? Because I think if we had it combined and if we just take the amount of players that was at both events and we just
yeah.
put that together, that would be the biggest tournament that South Africa has had in
Sure.
since Yu-Gi-Oh's got into the country.
So I'll be a little bit selfish in my answer. I would say yes, but it has to be here. Um,
Either way, like I was always happy about the rotation, you know.
yeah. Look, no. With in all seriousness, um, I'd prefer it to be a nationals where it's a national tournament.
Yeah,
So I kind of it was always cool seeing guys coming down to play the nationals. I've never been in a position to go up and anywhere else like Durban, Gauteng. I've never
mm,
been in a position to go, but for sure I would love to go and play in a different province, meet all the players up there.
yeah,
Um, I'm for sure on team nationals, I think. Um, but as far as travel goes, it was super convenient having a tournament here that we could say
yeah,
is for state championships.
100%,
I
100%.
see the merits in both.
Yeah, there's pros and cons for both sides. I think where it's a little bit more convenient. Not everyone has the amount of cash to, spend to get to a nationals if it's far from home, and that's basically just made it more accessible for people to play in high tier events.
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
And then since we have, as a country, we have two champions.
Hmm.
What would you say? Because as you were busy looking down on Sword Souls during this interview. What would you say of having a match, maybe even a remote duel against the Gauteng champion, Mr. Frisbee Moonsong, Robert Miles?
I've spoken to Rob about it. We might see. There's something cooking on the back burner.
Yeah, maybe we can host a remote duel on the channel.
Yeah, sure. Let's sort it out.
We'll
I've
get some
spoken
we'll
to him
get some
about it.
judges, get some judges
Let,
together and everything, and organize something so that we can see like who's the top guy in the country.
no, I'll put it this way. There's no hesitation on my side. We must just sort out the details.
Awesome. I'll definitely chat to him. But anyway, thanks Nicholas. I really appreciate you for coming on the channel. Thank you once again for your time and everything. And yeah, I hope you have an awesome time further with regards to the game. I mean, it's going to be a bit slow now. There's no high tier events or anything. So yeah, go and enjoy locals, and I hope to see you topping again soon.
Cheers, man. I appreciate it.
Awesome. Guys, that's all we have for you. Thank you very much for your support, and we will see you in the next one. Cheers. And there we go.
Thank you, sir.